Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jani Kylmäaho, and I'm going to be talking about something that goes a bit beyond Inspire standard implementation to actually how to kind of leverage the benefits that we get from creating the Inspire SDI. And this is one way of doing it by going from just having a geoportal to having something that's called a spatial data service platform. So I work at the National Land Survey of Finland, the SDI team, and this presentation is co-authored by Mr. Antti Rainio, the head of our team, and we are based in Helsinki, Finland, up in the north of Europe. To begin my presentation, I will briefly mention the Finnish reference architecture for SDI services. And this document is a description of how we can achieve interoperability of geographic information systems, services, and content within Finland. And as you will see in the next slide, the architecture looks quite familiar because it is based on the European Inspire legislation and architecture, as well as international standards. So it looks like this. So there are 5 layers to the architecture. There's the data layer, where there are metadata, data sources, data products from the data providers, and then the service layer with all the standard services that you also see in Inspire, but also some additional services that we have defined to be kind of crucial components in an SDI. And then on top there sits the application or other authentication and authorization layers to secure these services if need be, as well as on the topmost there's the application layer where you can actually utilize all the services from the SDI. And what I believe is the role of the spatial data service platforms. They are kind of the glue between these 5 layers of the architecture, that you can, using these spatial data service platforms, you can publish the content from the data layer using the standardized services securely to the application layer, which is envisioned in GIS clients, but especially in web-based clients, which you can utilize for e-government services, etc. So we are going from having just individual data sets, individual systems of GIS, to having a spatial data infrastructure where the Inspire services and content are being made available, but also taking a further step towards an ecosystem where the public sector will provide the Inspire basic infrastructure in form of content and services, and then this infrastructure is being complemented and extended by further collaboration with the private sector and other authorities. And there are several layers of functionality that you can provide using an SDS platform. There's the basic infrastructural things such as the infrastructure as a service, software as a service, but also in the GIS context, there's data as a service, analysis as a service, and even visualization as a service. And all of these could be basically provided through two standard web browsers and web-based map clients and map user interfaces. So in conclusion about the spatial data service platforms, they can enable efficient browser-based utilization of Inspire and other spatial data and services through the web and as cloud services if you like. So there are quite a few existing spatial data service platforms. So that's what I would call these. So Google Maps is one of them. ArcGIS Online is a good example, and also some open source alternatives like GeoNode and Open Geoportal exist already. So within the Finnish context, we started by developing our national geoportal. It's called Paikkatietoikkuna, and it has already quite a few users daily, and there are over 20 data providers hosting about 200 map layers, which can be then viewed and put on top of each other in this geoportal. And this is an implementation based on completely open source products such as OpenLayers, jQuery, GeoNetwork, and other software and library components. But then one of the key components of this implementation is the open source map application framework that we call OSCARI. And actually, what we have kind of found out is that it's not enough to have just a map application framework, but we have decided that we develop OSCARI to be a complete spatial data service platform. So that means we will still continue to strive our key principles, which are using existing open source components and extending the functionality of them by adding our own open source code, which we publish under open source licenses. And we want to maintain a flexible architecture around the system, which allows for adding functionalities both on the client, map viewer client side, but also on the server side of the spatial data service platform. So in the first phase that we are currently in right now, the implementation of the OSCARI framework in the National GeoPortal, users can publish embedded maps into any common web content management systems, which then utilize the rich content from the Finnish SDI provided by the Inspire and other standardized interfaces. And this embeddable map client has basic functionalities such as zooming, panning, address and gazetteer search, and most importantly, all the data that is consumed by these map clients are provided by standard interfaces such as WMS and WMTS, used in the Inspire context as well. So just to give you an idea of what the spatial data service platform can do in the basic setting, this is a Google Maps example where I have put a few things on the map. This is an airport of my hometown back in Finland, Oulu. And this is something that you can do in a couple of minutes' time and then publish this on your own website. And in ArcGIS Online, with some snow, you can put the same thing basically online and even have more advanced functionality, such as putting your own save files on top of this thing and then publish this map in any website, basically. But what we wanted to do is to create an open source-based alternative for these platforms. So I believe that there's a use case for all of these platforms, but there should be a chance to choose from a kind of the de facto platforms, but also an open source platforms. So the principles of the starting points for creating this OSCARI SDI service platform are the Inspire directive and kind of leveraging the benefits that we have by creating the Inspire SDI with easy-to-use open-source tools based on international standards by OGC and ISO. As we all know that the Google Maps platform doesn't really support these standards, for instance. So this is the realization, the current realization of the OSCARI, the Spatial Data Service platform within our GeoPortal. So there's a quite an easy-to-use wizard with 3 steps where you can select from the variety of content, Inspire content and other content within the Finnish GeoPortal and create your own map. So here I have chosen auto photos and put some Inspire thematic data on top of the auto photos, buildings, street networks, and some hydrographic data. And basically this I could do in 10 minutes and put this map that I can see within this iframe here into any website. So to summarize, the clue of this service data platform is to be able to publish the map user interface on a web page without having to write any code. So many of us don't like writing code, and it's also quite cumbersome to start doing that if you don't know how to do it. So by using this functionality, you can publish a simple map user interface within a few minutes. And even if you add more functionality to the Spatial Data Service platform, then it could take some more time to build a map user interface in the way you like, but still it'll be a multifold increase in productivity if you think of the traditional way of starting a project for developing a map user interface into your website, for instance. And not to forget that we also have the rich Inspire data content available for publishing in case the data providers have allowed to do so. So this is an example of how this platform has been used by the city of Tampere. They have provided a WMS interface which they have registered in our GeoPortal or the Spatial Data Service platform. And then they can use the map wizard to select a background map and put their own map on top of it, and then just within 10 minutes copy-paste and publish the iframe code onto their own website, where the people of Tampere can see the voting districts. Quite easy. So, some more grounds for why we went the open source way here. So, while I do like the approach that's easy to use interfaces provided by Google Maps and Esri ArcGIS Online, we still wanted to have the flexibility. We didn't want to go with one company solution, but we wanted to have a more kind of a collaborative approach where we created the basis for the Spatial Data Service Platform, which then can be extended by other people as we make the source code available. And then these extensions that are provided by others can then be taken into use by many others. And this is, I think, kind of the idea behind open source, creating a community around a product. So again, why we created Oskari? To facilitate collaboration, to save money basically, also taxpayers' money by not doing things many times. Everybody can use the same source code and build their own applications and more advanced functionality, add functionality into the same code base. That saves a lot of money actually. And there's the need for support of OGC standards and support for Inspire, but also architectural considerations such as modularity. We want to be able to modularize the source code we want to be able to have flexible additions to the source code in a kind of defined way, how to add new modules in there, and the possibility to exchange libraries if we want to avoid lockup situations with any software components or technologies or also companies. And we have a lot of localization needs because we have a multilingual country where we need to apply a consistent way of multilinguality and localization throughout the whole SDI platform and the user interfaces. So, but that's not all. So in the future, or actually in the near future, we will extend the functionality of this Oskari platform by creating to cover like more use cases, like more interactive use cases. Currently you can only just publish maps and view them in the embedded map clients. But in the future, for instance, for building permit web services for municipalities, which is a project funded by the Ministry of Environment, there will be interactive service where you can actually draw on the map the place where you want to build your house, and then the municipality can review whether this location is okay for your house. So this is kind of e-government applications that we intend to use this system for. Also, web-based e-conveyance of real estate is a project run by the NLS Finland, where this Oskari source code will be utilized and extended. And then statistical evaluation of basic services, such as healthcare and safety services by the regional state admin agencies. This project will increase the functionality of Oskari by adding thematic mapping functionalities and analysis functionalities for these statistical evaluation purposes. And also, not forgetting to mention that the Oskari is a candidate technology for the European Location Framework platform, which is an application submitted to the Commission by Geographics. And we will find out in a quite short time actually that whether this proposal will be accepted or not. And on a side note, basically, I would like to mention that the National Land Survey of Finland has opened a topographic database for basically free use for everybody, everywhere, including commercial and any private sector use. So that includes all the basic topographic vectors up to all the detailed scales, also orthophotos, laser scanning data, elevation models. And basically all of this data could also act as a background data in the Spatial Data Service Platform through the interfaces that we are building. And there's also more information about the terms under which this data is being published. And you can go to our website if you like to download and try and to use our data. So as a conclusion for the presentation, I would like to advise you to be smart, that is to be open-minded. So whenever you create new things, you create new efforts to utilize Inspire, we use open standards. That is a very key factor for everything. And if possible, open your data. It will be for the benefit of the society, I believe, if that simply is possible. And even open your services. That's more beneficial to have open services. There will be more use and more use cases that service can be used for than if they are protected and or especially if they are very, very costly. And as final point, use open source code. If you develop new open source code, please publish it. It will be for the benefit of everybody, and it might be also for the benefit of yourself if the open source code is being developed and you can take further use of it, the new features yourself. So that's basically it. If you want more information, please go to our website. The OSCARI framework has its own website, and in the autumn especially there will be new things added there. And our geo portal can be found at this address. Thank you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.